Yo, thank you for watching. I appreciate you for clicking on my video. It means a lot. Please give this video a like, and if you're really rocking with me, subscribe. If you're new to the channel, the whole goal with Phoenix True Crime is to bring awareness to domestic violence, workplace violence, road rage. There's not enough, there's not enough information to inform people on the dangers of domestic violence, workplace violence, road rage. We hear about it, but when it's too late, when a coworker shoots up the workplace, when, a female or a male kills somebody over an argument in the road, or, a wife killing their husband, or a husband killing their wife, or a girlfriend hurting their boyfriend, or a boyfriend hurting their girlfriend in a domestic situation, or a brother hurting a sister, or a brother hurting a brother, or a sister hurting a mom, etc., etc., in a domestic situation. We don't hear about it until it's too late. So I'm trying to just inform people on the dangers of flirting with domestic violence, workplace violence, road rage. And domestic violence is not only your girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife. It can be your brother, your sister, sister on sister problems, brother on brother problems, beefing with your uncle, beefing with your aunt, etc., etc. So I'm just trying to inform people, to work on themselves mentally, emotionally, psychologically, intuitively. And, your boy's in the valley of the beast right now. You can hear that, right? So long story short, the two young females and the young man that you see doing the wheelie, he's the same young man with the dog on his shoulder. All three of them were unarmed. They were unarmed and they were shot and killed in road rage situations. Okay. So, and the whole gist, 9 out of 10, I want to say 9 out of 10 times in a road rage killing, somebody's going to prison and somebody's dying. Why is the statistic so high of somebody going to prison in a road rage situation? Is because 8 to 9 out of 80% of the time or 90% of the time, when the person does the shooting and killing of someone, they shoot at somebody or they shoot and kill somebody, the other person is unarmed. They're doing it out of pure, anger, frustration, and rage. Because time and time again, when the trigger puller in the road rage situation gets into the room, the interrogation room, that is, with the police officer, detective, and the detective and the police officer ask the person, hey, why did you shoot this person? They didn't have a gun. They weren't showing no threat. You guys were just arguing. Why did you shoot and kill him? Oh, and time again, the answer is, because I was mad, I was frustrated, I was upset, I let my emotions get the best of me. That's what they always hear. 8 out of 10 times. It might be even a little bit higher than that. Very rarely is a road rage, shooting justifiable. And there's times it's been justified, people pulling out a gun in road rage and, being able to go home because they did the right thing by law, They stood their ground and they defended themselves. So I ain't gonna take too much of your time, but I'm trying to bring awareness to domestic violence, workplace violence, road rage. So the whole reason you click on the video is because, obviously, in this scenario, in this story, it's workplace violence. Dan Foster, he's the victim. He's the middle-aged male who you see right here in this picture. The older gentleman here, or I would say he's in the mid mid-age of life. And this happened in February 2023 in Chandler, Arizona, at the Intel plant, the Intel, factory, whatever you want to call it, warehouse plant. And if you don't know what Intel does, they make, microchips for gizmos and gadgets and cell phones, computers, laptops, etc., and much more stuff, right? That's where Dan worked at. He was a long-standing employee there. I believe he had over 10 years there, if not a lot more. And he turned that into a career. His wife said that he always wanted to work for Intel since he was a child, believe it or not. So the victim in this, Dan, he was always intrigued with, computers, electronics, gizmos, and gadgets. He was always intrigued with this stuff since he was a child. And lucky for Dan, he was able to turn his dreams into reality. Like I said, he worked at the Intel plant, a long-standing member at the Intel plant in Chandler, Arizona, for, many years, if not a decade, over a decade for sure. So long story short, co-workers said that Dan and the suspect, I'm not going to name the suspect, but the suspect is doing decades in prison. He got caught, right? Dan and the suspect had past problems or current problems. I don't really know, but from what police say, the employee said that, yeah, they had disagreements, disputes, but nobody thought it would ever get to this, right? So one morning in February 2023, in the middle of February 2023, Dan was at his workplace. Dan was in the break room when he was ambushed by this other coworker, who we call a suspect, with the bat. He attacked Dan ruthlessly with a bat. Another employee tried to, help Dan not get, assaulted. But that employee was attacked as well, very bad as well. And nobody could help Dan, obviously. I'm sure if a lot of people really tried to, they could have, but, it was just a really vicious, devious act that, the suspect attacking Dan with his bat until Dan was unconscious. He beat him with the bat till he was unconscious, and he beat the other co-worker who tried to intervene. He didn't beat that co-worker unconscious, but from what I heard, he hurt that other co-worker pretty bad. But he beat Dan unconscious, and after he beat Dan unconscious, he took out a knife and stabbed Dan even more. He inflicted just more damage to Dan, after beating him with a bat. So much so that he even had a hatchet. The suspect even pulled out some type of hatchet and a knife after Dan was knocked out. So think of the deviousness, the evilness that the suspect, had among himself and brought to the break room in his workplace, his and Dan's workplace and the other employee's workplace. So it's just very ugly, man. The suspect beat Dan unconscious and stabbed him and did a lot of stuff to him that he shouldn't have done to him after he beat him unconscious. So much so that the coroner told Dan's wife, hey, this is the worst type of stabbing and mutilation I've ever seen. It was horrible, man, what the suspect did. And that's just the surface level of stuff. That's not even what he really, he just really violated Dan's body, after he was knocked unconscious. And co-workers have said that, there's been disputes with Dan and the suspect, past disputes, some type of current disputes, but nobody knows to what depth, right? They didn't like each other. That was clear. And that Dan wasn't the only co-worker going through disputes. There was, from what I heard, there was some type of hostile work environment over there at the Intel plant in Chandler, Arizona. I don't know if that's how it is now, but at the current time when this happened in 2023, that's what was being said. It was a hostile work environment. People were not getting along with each other, so on and so forth. And this is just a horrible, horrible nightmare for Dan and his family. And this is how so the suspect attacked Dan with a bat and, took out a knife and some type of hatchet and attacked Dan after he was, already unconscious, and just mutilated and attacked his body with a knife and a hatchet. All this happened so fast that by the time the police got there, the suspect was already at the front door with the duffel bag, with the bat, the knife, and the hatchet. That's how fast everything happened. And police usually take, 3 minutes, 90 seconds to get somewhere on a fast day, like when things are going fast, cutting through traffic pretty easy. On a slow day, it might take them 5 minutes, 7 minutes with a lot of traffic and delays with sirens on, But the whole ordeal, the whole attack was over very fast. And like I said, so much so that the suspect beat the police, to the crime scene. Obviously, it happened in the break room at the plant at the warehouse. But the suspect did all that, grabbed his bat, grabbed his knife, and grabbed his hatchet, put it in some type of duffel bag, and went to the front door of the facility and waited for the police. So think of how fast everything happened, okay? And when the suspect saw the police, he told the police officer, "Hey, I'm the man you're looking for." And the police took him into custody, detained him obviously, and figured out that yeah, he is the suspect in this heinous crime. So time and time again, work-related incidents, workplace violence disputes, domestic violence disputes are hard. It's hard when you're beefing with a family member, when you catch your wife or your husband texting somebody else, right? All that stuff is very hard to deal with, right? I'm not telling you to not get mad, and especially with road rage. Road rage is very, very intoxicating. If you've never been involved in road rage, man, it will overwhelm you and make you do a lot of things that you will regret later if you're not, mature. And there's plenty of people that are over the age of 18 and they're not mature at all. Obviously, they can't handle situations. And I'm nobody to judge them because, like I said, I've been down that path as well, where in road rage situations, I called people out or whatever, not knowing the dangers. So I'm just tired of seeing young people, older people, middle-aged people throwing their lives away and killing and hurting people for no reason, for just arguments. 8 out of 10 times in a road rage situation, it's just an argument. It's just an argument that gets out of hand. And like I said, just understand that road rage situations, they get out of hand very fast, and a lot of people carry guns in Arizona and Phoenix and surrounding cities. And the whole point I'm trying to get across: domestic violence, workplace violence, road rage. We're all gonna encounter these things. Even rich people, people with lots of money, they encounter these things as well. Nobody's immune to domestic violence, workplace violence, road rage. Nobody's immune to this, okay? We're all gonna experience it. And I can't save everybody. And there's some of you who will listen, who will hear me, but you won't get the message. You're gonna go beat on your coworker, or pull out a gun in a road rage situation, and whatever it may be. Slap on your man, beat on your man because he's texting somebody else, or beat on your girlfriend or wife because she's texting somebody else. You find out she's cheating. I know it hurts. I know it hurts, man. I know it's very complex with the complex emotions when you catch somebody being disloyal or somebody being unfair. Maybe it's your family member who stole from you or something. It's a whole host of variety of situations in domestic disputes. It doesn't just have to be your wife or girlfriend. It could be your dad stealing from you, your mom mistreating you, or whatever it may be, right? And the whole goal I'm trying to the whole goal with this information is I'm trying to tell people, work on yourselves mentally, emotionally, psychologically, intellectually, you know, be able to gain control of your emotions when you lost control of them. That's the main thing. Why? Because I don't want you to end up in jail or prison. That's the main thing I'm trying to get across, and I'm not trying to take too much of your time, man. It's hard when you feel like your coworkers are being unfair to you and shit. You feel like you're being targeted. I get it. I get it. Trust me, I've been there. I've called out coworkers for being unfair to me and being unfair to others. Trust me, I get it. But that's not the way to go about things, right? And by the grace of God, thank God, I never caught no felonies in those situations, right? I'm just being honest with you guys. I'm telling you, I know it's not easy. You never know what anyone is going through. That's the thing, okay? Poor Dan did not realize that his coworker, the suspect, didn't have anything to lose, and workplace violence doesn't get reported as it should. Same thing with domestic violence. Same thing with road rage. They don't get reported as much as they should. They happen every day, multiple times a day. You know, whether it's just people make you feel uncomfortable at work, or people make you feel uncomfortable at home, or when you go visit a family member. You know, it's all domestic violence, workplace violence, road rage. I just don't want you to throw your life away, hurt somebody, and not realize how, to what degree you're hurting them. Maybe just knock them out and they end up and hit their head and they end up, passing away or being a vegetable. I just want you to avoid violence at all costs and stand on business if, somebody puts you in a corner, you know, and stick up for your family and protect your family and loved ones. I'm all for that. I'm just not for throwing your life away. That's the whole goal, is to remain calm when everything is burning around you. That's the main goal, and it's easier said than done. And I think I can get the message across to a few people. But I can't. Some people will hear this and they're gonna throw their life away, and I have no control over that. But if you ever encounter domestic violence, workplace violence, road rage, remember what I'm telling you, man. It's okay to get upset. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel frustrated. All that stuff's okay. And I'm not telling you to continue to be a victim. You speak up for yourself, but in a intelligent way, in an educated way, and get your point across. And it doesn't always have to turn physical. You get what I'm saying? And that's what I'm getting at. Okay? I don't want you to catch a felony and go to jail or prison when you don't need to. Because unfortunately, a lot of people, they put hands on people, they pull out guns and weapons, and they use them on people in domestic violence, workplace violence, road rage. They do all that, and then when it's all done, they're like, oh my God, what did I do? I can't believe I did that. Why? Because they let their emotions get the best of them. And you see me spinning weights, you see me flexing in some of these videos, you see me showing my workouts. Why? Because I like to work out. I like to lift weights, but there's many forms of working out, not just lifting weights. There's calisthenics, there's all kinds of stuff. And I encourage you to adopt one of those things. Your boy ain't perfect, and I'm going to get out of here. And you guys take care of yourselves, man. And just please remain calm when all hell is breaking loose around you. Remember that. And it's not going to happen overnight, man. It takes, lots of practice. That's why I say work on ourselves mentally, emotionally, intellectually, psychologically. And a lot of this is just understanding yourself and learning yourself. That way, you can take control. You can handle highly negative situations. So I'm going to get out of here, man. I appreciate it. I don't want to take too much of your time. It means the world to me that you're watching my videos, man. And please pray for Dan. And please, pray to whatever God you believe in. And pray for the world, man, that, God protects the innocent. Because time and time again, a lot of innocent people get caught up in very evil, unfortunate situations, man. And, I can't save everybody. We all got to go some way or another, right? Our time's going to come one way or another. And I just don't want our times to, come faster than they need to, or end up in jail or prison, So I'm going to get out of here, man. I appreciate it very much. It means the world to me. Remain calm when all hell breaks loose. Easier said than done, I know. So I'm going to get out of here, man, and take heed to what I'm saying, man. And I'm speaking from experience. I've been involved in domestic violence, workplace violence, road rage, time and time and time again. I felt like I was being bullied time and time again, But anyways, thank you very much. Your boy's out of here. Give your boy a like. It costs you nothing. Stay up.